unanswered questions about Freddy motherfucking Krueger. Number 1.
Is the opening scene hidden symbolism? And
Number 2.
is Jacob actually Freddy's son? Yeah, buddy, we're finally to this one. Cinematic toilet paper at its finest. While I'm obviously not a fan of this entry, I tried to give it the benefit of the doubt.
It didn't f***ing work.
But through the fog, I did find some pretty interesting things to theorize about. Ironically, starting with the opening scene. So let's talk about the dream child, Jacob. It starts off with Dan and Alice getting some but after the fact. Not only is Dan doing some Freddy-esque things with his fingers in bed. Uh-oh, double meaning. But I actually think Alice's opening nightmare is implied to be a wet dream. Literally. So she bangs in her wet dream and wakes up with Freddy. And I know a lot of people will say this is Freddy's dad that we see, but I do think this is just Freddy posing as his father, even though it's his doppelganger, just for shits and giggles. I mean, Freddy has taken the form of many people in this franchise. He's impersonated Donald Thompson, nurses, superheroes. Hell, he even plays himself unburnt in this small blink and you miss it moment, right before the action gets started in Greta's nightmare. So I think it's safe to say that this is just Freddy starting to invade Jacob's dreams. Now this movie is no stranger to in-your-face details about motherhood, but it also displays some pretty subtle examples in the background. Take Alice's room for example. You see this plant? Through the pants creates life. You get what I'm saying here? So after confirming that she did get pile-drived,
Dan keeping you up again? The damn part was nice.
she starts to have micro naps because her unborn baby is dreaming, even early into the film, with Freddy immediately at the wheel. No pun intended. Take this park nightmare for example, where we once again see Freddy's infamous calling card, the Jump Rope Girls. And again, she is in control because this isn't her dream, it's Jacob's.
I had one of those dreams last night. I just felt like I wasn't in control.
Do unborn babies dream?
Also notice how the Jump Rope Girls changed the last line of the nursery rhyme.
9, 10, he's back again.
Sending her a clear warning that Freddy's back. And then she gets transferred to the Hathaway house, where she witnesses Amanda giving birth to Freddy, which ultimately leads to his resurrection. Now here's where the ball really gets rolling, on the theory that Jacob is actually his offspring. There are some more clues in the dialogue to back this theory that Freddy boy here dropped his seed in Alice before Danny boy could. Maybe even as Dan.
It's a boy!
I locked the door on you!
But I found the key.
So not only is Freddy saying I found my way in, literally, right after Dan dies, he sends another pretty clear message about this.
Alice, wanna make babies?
Freddy's asking Alice, do you want to make babies? Could just be insult to injury about Dan's death, but let's move on. We then found out she's pregnant.
What's wrong with me? You're just a little pregnant.
Then right after we find out she's pregnant, Freddy asks her this question.
See any family resemblance?
See any family resemblance, huh? To Papa Freddy? Yeah, I think so. If you're not convinced by now, hell, let's keep going. Freddy even claims Jacob as his own.
Soul food for my boy.
Soul food for your boy, huh? Your boy? Papa Freddy? Oh yeah. I can just keep going on and on and on. I mean, this is about the dream child in a literal sense. So to recap, Dan and Alice get it on, has a wet dream, wakes up with Papa Krueger, finds out she's pregnant. Freddy teases her about having babies, asks her if she sees any family resemblance, and now he's giving soul food for his boy. I guess that brings a whole nother meaning to this line right here.
It's alright, son.
Dan? Jacob, he's not your father!
I mean, jokes aside, is it coincidence we always see Jacob at the 1428 Elm Street house, Freddy's house in the dream realm? I can go on about this for another 10 minutes. No cap. So chat, what do you think? Did Freddy turn the toaster strudel into a Twinkie? I don't know how many more dots you need to connect. By the way, yes, I know about Maggie, his daughter in the next film. I'll address that in the next video about Freddy's dead. Let's say Freddy's dead for Freddy's dead.
Number 3.
Is everyone at this school fucking idiots? And
Number 4.
how do they not know about the previous murders? Let's just get into it. I didn't give those brainless dickheads in Halloween or Friday the 13th franchise a pass, and I won't here either. Now don't be fooled, I love these franchises. I love watching them. You have to take the good with the bad. I love these characters, I love the movies, I love the stories. But one of my biggest sins that you can do in the horror franchise is playing dumb. We're 5 films in, right? And these teenagers act like they ain't never heard of Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger, who murdered 30 kids right here on Elm Street.
Or they just don't remember any of their classmates getting butchered last year. And some of them died off inside the school just a year ago. This doesn't work anymore. But let's go back to the very beginning if you really want some ammunition for this. Spoiler alert, this is probably going to turn into a fucking angry rant. So not only do we have the Krueger massacres in the past, which should be a lingering shadow over the town anyway. Sure, the mob parents iced Freddy and covered it up. Okay, sure. But you can't keep using that for every death in the franchise. But to some extent, you can't just keep fucking hiding these murders. You can't just hide the fact that someone's daughter, someone's son, just isn't around anymore. There's one less student. You can't just hide the crime scene, the paper trail, the funeral, the gravestones, the best friends and parents who suffered a loss. It doesn't work that way. So back to my point. You can cover up Freddy's murder, but not the previous victims. So in this film alone, we have another group of teenagers who just play fucking dumb, who have no recollection of anything that happened in the past, or don't know anything about Freddy. Leading up to this movie, let's talk about Nancy, and all of her friends that was killed. Glenn, Rod, Tina, which were all students of Springwood High. Go Bulldogs! Not only were they students, but they're part of the community. Okay, weird, bizarre. Nancy saw Glenn get butchered. She went crazy. I can roll with that theory for the next film. It makes sense.
About the girl that used to live here, how she went crazy when she saw her boyfriend get murdered across the street.
I guess the murder was just never caught. Because at that point, Rod was already dead. So who murdered Glenn? I'm not even going to talk about that bitch Marge. So fast forward to part 2. Coach Snyder gets gutted at school. And some students get gutted at a party a few nights later. Grady, multiple teenagers who actually saw Freddy in action. And no, I don't personally believe that they saw Jesse doing these murders. I believe they saw Freddy himself. Because at that point, Freddy was in the real world and Jesse was trapped inside, literally. Because at the end of the movie, Freddy literally melts down into Jesse. But I'm not getting into that again. So with only 2 films in, we have 15 bodies. And the sole motive was Freddy Krueger. Fast forward to part 3. 6 more bodies. 4 of them being students. Then you got Nancy and Donald. Every one of them publicly blamed Freddy Krueger. Again, that's over 20 bodies. Over 20 people end up dead, and they still blame this Freddy guy. Not enough for you? Fast forward to part 4. We have Kristen, the only survivor of the Dream Warriors, who still openly blames Freddy for everything that's going on.
No. He killed them!
Anyway, she wants us.
I'm gonna get that son of a bitch.
And then we have 6 more victims to add to that list. 6 more students who also blamed it on Freddy before their death. That's 30 bodies who have the same crazy motive, not to mention the 1428 Elm Street house they throw in our face every movie, and they treat that house as a legend in itself, with the backstory of Freddy and its history.
So, why the haunted house?
It's his home.
Town legend. He was a child killer freed on a technicality. He comes back in dreams.
So why the fuck are these morons acting like there hasn't been 30 fucking bodies? Majority of them being fellow students, not including the 6 that was iced last year. Some of them at the fucking school themselves. How brain dead are you, moronic, idiotic, half-witted, fucking brainless, empty-headed fucksticks? We're 5 films in. This doesn't work anymore. That's it! I've had it! I ain't gonna take this anymore! How dumb can these teenagers be? What do they do all day? Smoke meth? There's more brain cells in a goddamn squirrel!
What are you freaking out about?
These idiots in Springwood!
From the Dream Child movie?
Nah, I'm fucking Rugrats!
Then why do we have it on DVD and Blu-ray?
You don't? What? No, we don't.
Yes, we do. It's in the living room.
You let that movie come in my house?
It wasn't me. You bought it.
Show me where it is! You show me where I got it!
Number 5.
Alright, now that I've had my brain aneurysm, let's ask this question. Was Freddy a... Well, I guess that confirms that. At least the previous movies hinted at it. You didn't have to throw it in our face. At this point in the franchise, if you wanted Freddy to be MTV Freddy, this pop culture rock star icon, I don't think this is the move to do. I mean, even though Freddy is the villain in these movies, a lot of times we root for Freddy. We want to see Freddy slash and gash, cut another hole in your ass. But we can't pull for this. I'm not going to be a cheerleader for the PEDO. So why would you put this in there? Like, we knew the gray line was there. But at least the previous films didn't smack it in our face. Thanks, movie.
Number 6.
Rapid fire round. What the hell is that? You know what that is. So Mark and Freddy are in a comic book anime dream with a dildo and sex dolls. And people hate part 2 for the subtext? Yeah, okay.
Scarface limp dick.
Limp dick, huh? Let's just move on. We're going to talk about how Alice already had tickets to Paris before Dan even gave them to her, and then they just disappear and reappear. We're going to talk about how the spikes already being Freddy before the child carriage stroller even makes contact. Also, Freddy has a donk on him, don't he? That man's got a dump truck. Also, way to announce yourself, Alice. If I was going to surprise attack somebody, I wouldn't yell at the top of my lungs when I'm a football field away. Look how long she screams before Freddy even turns around. I mean, it's a long time. This is even funnier in slow motion. You can really see how long she screamed before Freddy even thought to turn around.
I got swimming practice until 6:30.
Why does Javon have swimming practice after graduation? Does nobody in this movie have actual kids? Do you not know how the school system works? When did Freddy get his dental work done? This man has some pristine white teeth. These people didn't even try.
You said she committed suicide.
That's what the papers thought. After Krueger's trial, she flipped out and hung herself. They couldn't prove it. No body.
No body? Did you not read the headline of this newspaper? Amanda Krueger found dead. So did they find her or not? You mean they couldn't find her body right next to this window?
He must have done it.
So now you're saying Freddy put her on the slab? Not herself? Movie, make her mind up! This is a very cool shot of Freddy though.
Number 7.
And...
Number 8.
Wait. So, I thought the town covered up Freddy's murder that the mob committed by the parents. Look at this screenshot here. This is tied to the fact that I believe that everybody in this damn town is living off one singular brain cell. If Marky Mark here was able to uncover the secrets about Freddy's mother, Amanda, Freddy's killings, his trial, his acquittal, and the parents killing him, this also fuels my theory earlier. How the fuck does anybody not know this information? Dude got this from the local library. I'm not gonna backtrack, but let's just ignore the fact of the 30 bodies, most of them being students, and their friends getting butchered every other year, and they just don't remember. Let's just forget all that for a second. This is ancient history. The events from part 1 to now was less than 10 years ago. So that means the legend of Freddy comes back every couple of years. Sometimes even just a year later. And more students and kids just get gutted and die over mysterious circumstances. But it confuses me because even though that now Kristen is gone in part 4 and Alice took the whim, but with Kristen, she was the last child of the mob family, right? I thought the secret of Freddy's mob revenge murder died with her and the parents. I thought it was hush hush. They tried to bury what happened to Freddy that night, right? In this franchise, that's what every film tells the audience.
We found him in an old abandoned boiler room and lit the whole thing up.
They hunted him down and roasted him like a Thanksgiving turkey.
So the parents of the murdered kids got together and killed him.
That's the story. The parents got their revenge, and then the town covered it up. They buried what happened to Freddy, right? Evidently wrong. This film throws that right out the goddamn window. Like my future. What's the best way to cover up a secret? Let's publish a newspaper about it. This paper even says in detail. Look at this headline. And again, we're not breaking the fourth wall of the film, right? So we can't blame this on bad writing, bad production, continuity. What happens in the film stays in the film. And a lot of these theories on every single video, the one comment I get the most, debunking most of my theories, which is fine, is that in Freddy vs. Jason, they referenced that the town covered up the whole thing about Freddy's murder. But yeah, they did a good job, didn't they? So this is public knowledge. Wouldn't that add to Freddy's power by infecting the kids? If they came across this very informative newspaper about what their parents did to Freddy that night? Jesus Christ. It's like trying to bury a scandal and live streaming the confession. We don't want anyone to know what we did. So let's print it, date it, laminate it, and shove it in the microfilm section of the local Springwood library so anybody can access it at any time. What the hell was the plan here? Hope that every teenager in Springwood just has amnesia? This isn't Men in Black. This is Ohio. With the same exact backstory being thrown around about Freddy and teenagers dying off every couple of years. It seems to me, in this film, you went out of your way to publish the secret. Freddy died by the vigilante parents. It straight up explains how. Every detail. Burned alive. Mob justice. Why not toss in the scratch and sniff while you're at it? But with all this being said, somehow, some way, in this film, we have a new group of hormone-raging dumbass teenagers who still doesn't know about Freddy Krueger or any of the massacres that happened in the previous 4 films. How do you not see 30 bodies piling up with Freddy's name all over them? How do you not know about Freddy himself, his history, the trial, his murder by the parents? Again, me and everybody else thought it was hush-hush. They kept it a secret. But no, it's in the goddamn newspapers. So they covered up the story, huh? Like I said, 5 films in, I have no more mercy. Fuck them dumb assholes. You deserved it.
Number 9.
What became of Jacob and Alice? And
Number 10.
Is John Doe from Freddy's dad actually Jacob? Believe it or not, this actually has some ammunition behind it. Hear me out. We of course never see Alice again. But do we see Jacob? Not jumping too far ahead, but by the time we hit Freddy's dad, we're introduced to this dude, John Doe, the very last kid left in Springwood, wandering around with no name, no memories, no clue how he survived Freddy. Don't know why he's dreaming of Freddy, but yet somehow he's convinced that he's Freddy's son. Sounds familiar, right? Why would he think he's Freddy's son if he has absolutely no prior memories of past experiences with Freddy? I think it's because Freddy never really left Jacob's mind. He's always been there, even now, in his subconscious. Jacob in this film is shown to have a strong dream connection, eerily calm in his demeanor inside the dream realm. He's very familiar with it. That's his home. Before he was even born. I mean, Jacob isn't your typical kid. He isn't, over there tripping on Legos and goo goo gaga. Jacob is a kid who communicated with Freddy.
How come you don't like me?
Who said I don't like you?
My friend with the funny hand.
Absorbed the powers from his mom, which also included the Dream Warrior's powers, by the way, and saw his dead father in the dream world before he was even out of diapers, before he even came out of the womb. But if you look what happens next in Freddy's Dead, the complete collapse of the youth population, the town hallucinating about fake children. At this point, Freddy has won. So it means sometime between this film and the next, he had to have been resurrected somehow. He won his fight against Amanda, which had to mean that he had to come back for Alice and Jacob. And John Doe is literally the last kid left in Springwood, the very last one. So Freddy killed off every single child there, which I imagine that will make Freddy stronger than ever. Yeah. With all the souls. But even then, I think he knew he couldn't fight Jacob one-on-one. That Jacob was too powerful. Him being the dream child, having everyone's powers, including his mother's, the Dream Warriors, plus having the past experiences with already defeating Freddy. I think Freddy knew he couldn't win that fight, no matter how powerful he got. So what does Freddy do? He wipes Jacob's memories, and he becomes John Doe, the one who doesn't know absolutely anything. So now that Jacob, aka John Doe, is no longer a threat to Freddy, instead of killing him immediately, Freddy uses him as a puppet. Because if he kills Jacob, aka John Doe, he's the last kid of Springwood. He'll be trapped there for eternity, just waiting on another kid to show up while he sits idle, waiting on shit to happen. He knew he couldn't do that because if Freddy sits idle, just like we're seeing Freddy vs. Jason, it makes him weaker. There's no kids alive to fear him, to give him strength. So Freddy needs John Doe, aka Jacob, to be his conduit to get more children out, and for him to bring Maggie to him. And he uses Maggie in Freddy's Dead so that he can hop out of Springwood and start killing kids in other towns.
Every town has an Elm Street.
So in the end, Freddy was always there in John Doe's mind, right in the subconscious. How else would you explain him dreaming about Freddy constantly, even though he knows nothing about Freddy? How is Freddy entering his dreams? You have to know about Freddy for him to get in, right? John Doe doesn't know about Freddy, or does he? I think Freddy's way in was Jacob's subconscious mind and his repressed memories of what happened in the events of this film. That would make sense why Freddy doesn't need the dreams. He doesn't need that knowledge and fear to enter the dreams, because the connection has always been there. They've always been connected. And some might argue that this is impossible because the age doesn't match. That John Doe's age can't match because of the 10-year jump in the next film. But I also disagree on that. Since this movie takes place in 1989, which is the year of the graduating class, there's already some big discrepancies in the 10-year jump in Freddy's Dead. But it can work. You can bridge the gap. You can do the math. But I'm going to cover that in the next video. thus finally bridging the gap between the dream child and Freddy's dead. Probably the only link between the two. With that being said, if you have any theories about Freddy's dead, feel free to drop them in the Discord. The Discord is absolutely free. It's just a hangout spot. If you have a nice theory that holds some weight and I like it, I will credit you in the video. I also have a YouTube membership where you get exclusive videos, live streams, requests, custom emojis, loyalty badges. I do monthly giveaways. There's a long list of benefits if you want some more content for yourself. But that's going to wrap this video up, guys. Thank you so much for taking part you did to kick with me. You know I appreciate it. I love you all. Until next time, I appreciate you. Adios.